streaming. Julie, you are here early today. I'm thankful for that. Always a thrill when you come to a room. You've been on fire lately. Tom, talk about somebody growing their digital footprint. I see Julie, and I think it's a good thing. I see her branding, her company, herself, really every time I hop on social media. Julie, you have any tips for us on how you're able to scale what you're currently doing?
Well, hi, Dominick. Hi, Tom, Charlie. It's great to be here. Um, I think it's just being purposeful with your branding and knowing your audience and what they possibly want to hear, even if they don't know they want to hear it or see it.
We need to elaborate on that. How do we know what they want to hear?
Well, I mean, I understand those pain points that my clients are going through, and I kind of extend it to my audience. And you can also use analytics if you like analytics, which I do. You can get wrapped up in analytics. And, really focusing on the analytics can be a slippery slope because does it matter, if you have 10,000 downloads an episode, or does it matter if you have a really concentrated audience that is just hungry for your message? So I do use analytics to guide me. And, it's like seeing what works, what doesn't work, throwing spaghetti at the wall, but always remaining true to your brand, whatever that may be. Is that a little more specific?
That's spectacular. And before we jumped on, me and Tom, like as he sets up the live stream and does a brilliant job with that, because I have no idea what the hell he's doing, and it all seems to work. And these cool tech things that you see on the screen are neat. But we started talking about the ROI of social media. And is there an ROI? How long? How do you know? What's the plan? So let's jump on. I see DJ came. Christian's the best if he has time. If you have not met Christian, what is so cool about Christian is about 16 years old. And he started podcasting. He's down, I think, in the Atlanta area, and he's sharing his message. And so sometimes in this room, you'll see somebody that sold 1 million books, 3 million books, or they have Emmy nominations like Tom. And then somebody like Christian is just starting out, and he's out there doing it, and it's just as cool, just as awesome. So, Tom, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thanks, Dom. Thanks. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. Sorry, it's one of those funny, like technical glitchy things that with this live stream, because I'm using, a PC version of Clubhouse. I'm using Club Deck to kind of make this live stream work. And one of the sort of weird glitchy things is there's no easy way to like refresh the screen the way there is on the mobile app. And so I have to like wait until it refreshes itself, and then I can join the room. So sometimes I'm not in the room like as soon as Dom opens it up, because I'm busy waiting for my for my refresh to happen on the live stream side. So anyway, good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. We are live streaming as we usually do every week. So we're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch. And I think that's it. I think that's all the places we're live streaming. Is that enough places? I guess that's enough places, right? And Twitter. We're on Twitter also. And yeah, Dom, like as Dom was just saying, we were talking about ROI for social media before we got on. And it's one of those things, this is a common question that I have crop up all the time, is what's the ROI for video in particular, right? Is the question I get asked, because that's my wheelhouse. And the short answer is there isn't any. And the reality of it is that ROI is a measurement of cash out versus cash in, right? It's revenue out, or it's investment out versus cash in, right? And there is no way to measure that on social media marketing, on email marketing, et cetera, unless you have, the only way to measure it is if you have a click to buy button in your marketing content, right? If it's a sales funnel piece of content and you have a click to buy option, then you can measure the ROI. But otherwise, there is no direct measurement for ROI. So the goal of marketing is not directly to make money. It's not sales, right? And it shouldn't be looked at the same way. The problem is a lot of people look at marketing the same way they look at sales, right? They want to say, okay, I spent X amount on my marketing efforts, and this is how much revenue it generated, the same way you would with sales, right? I spent X amount on my sales efforts, and this is how much our sales grew, right? Or how much we brought in sales. And it doesn't work the same way. It's not an apples to apples comparison, right? And that's a problem. And it's sort of very rampant in the marketing world. And I come across it all the time in my video space. But yeah, the answer is there's no way to measure ROI on social media directly. And anybody who tells you, I'm going to be a little controversial here, anybody that tells you that they can tell you what the ROI is for your marketing efforts on social media is not being honest with you, right? They're not being honest with you. So take whatever they say with a grain of salt. So that's my thought, Dom, on marketing and social media ROI.
Okay, so let's get this started. Let's cruise around here. Julie, I'm coming back to you. Marketing ROIs. Can you ROI your social?
Well, if I said yes, Tom would say I'm a liar.
Well, let's hear your
but
side of it.
I mean, you really can't. It's intangible. I hope I don't offend anyone. I've never been a big fan of social media, at least for building my business. What I know is that it has to be there, and it has to be good if you're doing what you want to do. Where I find the entire online presence is really catering to Google, and I find that's where I find really my largest return on investment. And I've been working on it for a long time. And Google does like social media. Google does like LinkedIn very much. And it's about the ratings, reviews, and showing that you are a legitimate business and that you have a legitimate voice. And I think Google definitely has been my biggest champion in terms of getting concrete, real leads and customers, clients, collaborations, and also that and my podcast. So I can't really say.
Do you run Google Ads?
I have, yeah. I've run YouTube ads through Google. I've done Google ads that currently I've just tried to make a commitment to seeing how it works organically. And I haven't seen a real difference at all, to be honest. But I know at the beginning, I feel like at the beginning, you always need to invest money into marketing. And I've tried it on Instagram. I try everything. You get more likes, but what is a like? There's no real engagement in a like. People are scrolling. And I found Pinterest is a good one too. It's like the unsung hero of boosting the website traffic. But Pinterest is not as engaged. Google, for some reason, just throws out engaged potential clients for me left and right.
I've got another frame here, and Julie, feel free to answer this if you want. But Dom, I just want to throw this out. So this actually came up in a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking with somebody about this exact topic, ROI for marketing, right? And this, because of the context of the conversation, this kind of analogy popped into my head at the time. I just remembered it, and so I wanted to share it. And that is, if you can tell me the ROI for putting a sign out in front of your office, then you can tell me the ROI for your social media marketing, right? What is the ROI? What's the, not like, oh, it helps bring in business, or I want to know a dollar number, right? What is the dollar figure ROI for putting a sign out in front of the building where you conduct business? Can anybody?
And that's what a lot of people do give, follow-up surveys, or how did you hear about us? I mean, that's kind of grasping at straws, right? To figure out where did they find you?
How reliable are people's memories about where they first heard you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I answer it, I'm like, other. I always click other.
Exactly. Or like, how often do you get that question and you kind of go, I think it was from here, or maybe it was from there, right? So there's like a, I think even from like anecdotal evidence, it's pretty clear that people's memories aren't super accurate. But if you look at studies, particularly studies on the veracity of eyewitness testimony in criminal cases in the judicial system, it's incredibly inaccurate. Eyewitness testimony, it's like it's looked at in some level as like the gold standard, but in reality, eyewitness testimony is incredibly unreliable and easy to impeach for defense attorneys. So hard evidence is always the better way to go for prosecuting a criminal case. So that's just one thing I dove into when I was in undergrad studying psychology. I did a whole bunch of coursework on memory, and eyewitness testimony is incredibly unreliable. But it's one of those things. It is. So my question is, right, you can't put a dollar value on hanging a sign out in front of your business, but it's still a good idea, right? And I think in this digital age, being present on social media is equivalent to hanging a sign out in front of your business. You can't put a direct dollar value on it, but it's still a pretty good idea.
I love that analogy, Tom. I might steal that from you. That is amazing.
Be my
Really,
guest.
it is.
Be my
It
guest.
is.
Yeah. Free. Anybody who wants to steal that, go for it. But yeah, I mean, it popped into my head in a conversation, and I wanted to share it because it like really crystallized that idea for me, and as an easy way to explain to people why it's so important to be present in the digital world as a business.
So what's your tactic, Dom, or anybody, and I don't mean to take over the conversation, but, what is your tactic on using social media?
Well, let's go to some experts on it. Hey, we got this room of really people that are like Charlie. I'm going to go to went viral. The guy's got millions and millions of views with Star the Dog, and I want to hit Billy on this as somebody who's helping people strategize their businesses when it comes to monetizing and things like that. So I'm watching both of these people in different ways. Billy seems more niche, and Charlie went viral. So Charlie, tell us about going viral, and then we're going to jump to Billy. So Charlie, if you're not lifting weights, go on, my friend.
No, I'm not lifting. No, I'm not lifting weights. I heard some really good things both from Julie and Tom, and I just want to go backtrack. Julie said something really clear that what do these views mean? I mean, they mean nothing. In this last week, I've got 100,000 views on TikTok. It doesn't mean nothing. And then, Tom, I agree that, after reading the book, The Art of Thinking Clearly, and I sat in courtrooms when I worked for the Department of Corrections, people's recall is so far from the truth. They actually believe what they think they remember, which is incredibly inaccurate in most cases. That's why when I wrote my book, I had newspapers.com. I cross-referenced everything 9 ways to Sundays because I don't trust my memory for facts. Generalizations, yes, not facts. So what I think is this. When I was doing my business, it took years for a big hospital builder to contact me. He says, I've been seeing your trucks going down the road for years, and the sign finally penetrated me, your dumpster signs. So that goes to tell you how long it takes. I watch TV news at 6 o'clock, and there's this commercial that comes on every night with some type of gambling app. And this woman came on every single, and I just blocked it out until finally it penetrated. I know what she's doing. So I think a lot of the splashing, I think a lot of the likes, a lot of the stuff we see on social media is at the most entertainment for people. They give you a like. It has no memorialization. That's why I always follow up a conversation that means something to me in business with an email to memorialize it, to state the facts of what this conversation took place in. So with all these millions of hits over Star the Dog, what I have noticed is this. it takes a lot of views, a lot of hits, a lot of comments, and then the right people do come about. The right people do come about, and that's why we have to show up. And I don't know if we could ever track it to, well, it was my interview on this, or it was my Facebook post here, or it was my LinkedIn response here. But I have to get out there and put quality content out and see what happens. And lastly, I find this to be more important. What I do with each of you people on Clubhouse and the sharing and what I get to learn from you folks, it seems so much better than the stuff that went viral, because this is nourishing me mentally and spiritually, lifting me and saying to myself, yes, I can do this another day. When I came to Clubhouse about 2 months ago, and I said this to Dom, I was about ready to close the door on Star of the Dog and a possibility of a movie and this and that. I can say since I've been on Clubhouse, Hollywood has called. Someone that is a big deal that just sold his business to Sony did call, and there is a possibility that something may happen with this film director. So I'm just going to keep on showing up, learning, and giving out what information I can that may help somebody else. And for those that need me to say it again, the book, The Art of Thinking Clearly, is a profound read. That completes me.
Charlie, man, isn't that the truth, man? Here's a guy just giving us the exact formula for success. He's out there, he's consistent, he's got a story to share, and people are finding him. I like that. Hollywood did call. So Hollywood does call when you're out there doing your thing. Billy, once Charlie's banging weights, man. All right, Billy, what do you got going on, man? What are your thoughts on this? As somebody that I really consider that you niche and are brilliant at what you're doing, at how you're helping entrepreneurs. What are your thoughts?
Hey, what's up, Dominick, Julie, Charlie, Tom? Great conversation, man. I love it. I'm learning. This is when it comes to social media, I'm like super novice. I don't really, what I guess is my strategy in my fishing show that does so well is we produce the type of content that these platforms want, that people that are on these platforms want. So for our podcast, and that's what I use social media for the most, is to build that brand, is create engaging content and then engage. It's called social media. And I heard someone say this one time. They're like, you're posting and ghosting, you're not being social, you're not building community. And so for me, social media is kind of like the top of the funnel. Just, like whatever, if it's reels, if it's social posts, if it's a daily podcast or whatever, it's just so I'm out there more. Like you guys are talking about, hopefully Google's, putting some value to my name and all that kind of stuff. But then it's my responsibility to create a place for my audience to come, and then I nurture them into being my community. And I think for us, like over the last 2 years, we've free content, build, give ways to connect. And now we launched a membership group for our community. And surprisingly, it's done about 4 times already what we thought it was going to do. And all of that really came from social media. And the way I can track the ROI is because I know where my energy is going. And, I'm not a local business, so I don't have signs and billboards and all that kind of stuff. But I do say, like, okay, well, I don't know exactly if Instagram is doing better than LinkedIn, but I know that it's all coming from those social platforms, so I'm going to keep producing. And then I guess it is, like, yesterday, this week, I've been doing this new Creating Daily show where I'm talking to creators. By the way, always taking guests. I'm trying to do it daily. So if you're a creator and you want to be on there, let me know. But already in 4 days, I've gotten 2 clients out of it just from the wow factor of like, holy crap, dude, how are you producing this? Or 2 opportunities to work with people, I should say. So yeah, man, I don't know, great conversation. I'm learning. I think all these points are valid, but I would say one thing for social media, it's like, be social. Like that's what it is. It's the way that, it's the new bar. It's the new, campfire or whatever. So create content that attracts people, and then when they engage with it, you freaking engage back with them and start that conversation and turn them into your community. So not anything new, but just the way I operate, I guess. I try to.
Love it, Billy, man. Thank you for sharing. I have this thought. Imagine that somebody cares about whether it's their kid got an A, that they lost 20 pounds, that they went on a run, and they're proud of it. And you don't get out there and you don't support them in that way and be social and encourage them. They posted it because they believed in it. They were proud of it, just like us in our business and that kind of thing. It's a two-way street. So to just go out there and ask and take, I like what he said, posting and ghosting, and that idea of just being a taker. Tom, you want to hit on I heard you doing a video the other day, and I loved it, man. I actually called Tom up. I'm like, this is the best shit I've heard in a long time. You said social media, you were opening the door. I think that's how you described it. You're just opening the door for them, or I think it was that.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the post where I said there's this tendency, especially in social media content, marketing and advertising content more broadly, where businesses have this sort of overwhelming desire, right, or need that they feel that they have to just inundate their audience with information, just beating people over the head, shoveling like loads of information at them, right, as fast as they can, just burying them in information. And it's completely the wrong approach, right? You wouldn't walk up to this is kind of how I think of it, right? Like your social media presence is in essence the same way you should present yourself or your business in like a networking situation, right? So you would never walk up to somebody in a networking situation and just vomit all the details of your business at them instantaneously, right? You would never do that, because what would happen? The person that you go up to and talk to and do that to would immediately turn around and never talk to you again, right? Because that's not a good way to communicate with people. So all you have to do, instead of dousing them in information, all you have to do is put your hand out, offer them a handshake, open the door and invite them in to learn more, right? Open the door and invite them in is what I said that Dom really liked. That's what he's referencing. So that's my way of thinking about this kind of content. It doesn't even have to be directly about your products or services, right? At the end of the day, people like to do business with people that they share values with, right? They want to do business with human beings. And so if you present a well-rounded perspective of your business, who you are, what your business stands for, what you stand for, the team that makes up your business, who they are, give your audience a chance to get to know who they're doing business with. Because at the end of the day, that's going to be a much more impactful deciding factor for them than price point, than whatever icing you can put on the cake of the products or services you sell, right? The real deciding factor, the real impetus behind that decision is whether or not they feel good about working with you and supporting your business, right? Make them feel good. And pardon my French, but like what I usually tell people is like, before you start vomiting information all over them, you have to make them give a shit, right? Make people give a shit about your business and give a shit about who you are, and they're much more likely to engage with you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, let's do what do we do? Call this some housekeeping. Okay, there's comments down on the left-hand side of your screen now. We can comment, have a back and forth conversation on our live stream. Tom's answering some questions. If you have a question, feel free to talk. We're perusing those conversations too, and it might stimulate a topic or something like that. We're live streaming now. We do this every week. On Wednesdays. We started a club. We didn't have a club. We didn't even know what a club was, so we're learning from you guys. And people said, well, how are we going to even find your room when you're not in a club? So it's not branded in any way with Tom's brand or my brand. It's just a place where we're sharing storytelling and media tips and learning and trying to figure out how are the best ways to get out there and share our story. So the next person up, since we like to meet new people, and so I see DJ. DJ, if you want to ask a question or if you can contribute or drop a tip on what we've been talking about, the floor is yours, DJ. Glad you're here.
Hello, good morning. How do I sound?
You sound good to me so far. Come on.
Wonderful. Okay, well, it's good to meet everyone. It's my first time here. I haven't been in Clubhouse in quite a while, but I was encouraged to come on in, and I found the podcasting. But a little bit about me. I'm DJ. I live stream on LinkedIn and Twitch and Twitter and all those platforms that you guys talked about. And I took notes. I was taking notes. So on the ROI, I really appreciated that conversation, those points, because I had asked myself this question. I had talked to a couple other collaborators and colleagues about, is there a ROI? How do we really present that? And no one could give me an answer. And it's good to know and have sort of validated that other people really can't put a dollar value on that. And we all struggle. So I appreciate that conversation. I like what Charlie said about keep going and surrounding yourself, stay consistent. I think that's true. I've been streaming for about a year, which makes me feel pretty good because it's hard. It's not easy to keep a running weekly show with guests and topics. Now, my topics are usually mental health, disability, and trauma related, which are pretty heavy subjects. And I have to have a good personality. Got to keep it late. Got to bring some entertainment to those types of topics and conversations. So I understand, when you start getting tired, at least for me in my experience, and he could have meant that in a totally different business way, but for me, that's how I interpret it. And it really did hit home. Billy, I reached out to you on LinkedIn. I love what you're doing, and I'd love to talk about your daily creators. And Tom, thank you. Thank you so much for what you just shared about you just turned on my light bulb by not shoveling information down people's throats and just vomiting info. I know I have a tendency to talk really fast and want to get a lot of information out there. And sometimes we feel that pressure of time, the time cooker, the clock we have, minutes and seconds, and it's a mental battle. It's a business battle. It's a battle in so many ways. So I appreciate that and just slowing down. I love that reminder. I needed that reminder myself. So I appreciate that. And definitely I love to keep the door open. So I think everyone should keep the door open, and especially in the chaos and the society and everything that comes at us. It's nice to be a safe haven for folks. I love to be a safe haven, be part of the community that wants to be a real community, not just individual capitalists, but really something more deeper, more emotionally and psychologically caring and compassionate. And I think that's really important part of business, and for me, creation. When I create and when I intend to do business, I do it from a place of my heart. And I want to engage with other creators and other business folks that do come from a place of heart and of people, of humans. So I guess that's all. I just wanted to introduce myself and give a little feedback, and yes, contribute, because that's why we're here. And I'd love to connect and meet with anyone. And I do have one question real quick off topic about PodFest, VidFest, and who will be going there, and just kind of connecting, and I'm networking to figure out who will be in Orlando coming up in May.
I will.
Yay, wonderful. So thank you so much, everyone. I'll be talking about accessibility there. I'll be speaking. So, something that I really is passionate about is being inclusive and making sure everyone has access to our content, auditory, verbally, visually. So it's just something I really love to talk about. So I'll be talking about that. So thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and it's really nice to meet everyone.
DJ, spectacular. We are glad you're here, and I love this bringing up this idea of showing up and throwing up. That's what we used to talk about in sales. That sometimes you go out and you know your product so well, and you get out there and you're just blah 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 blah. And I wonder in this, I have this. Tom, I see him laughing. I wonder in this world of they like you, they trust you, they buy from you. If you went out there and you said to that person, rather than throwing up everything, if you said, "Hey, I like what you're into. Let's DM. I have this, and this. I think we should talk." Or, "I know you're real busy right now. Let's talk another time." To me, the trust is built right in that first conversation. The trust on my social media is, Julie asked about social media strategy earlier. My strategy is I haven't asked you in years and years and years. You haven't seen the ask. 1 out of every 20 of my posts is an ask for something. 1 out of 50. Once we're in, I don't know you well enough to ask anything. Once we're in the DMs and things like that, and I find out more and we have a meeting and do a needs assessment and things like that, well, then maybe I will ask for some form of business. But until I know, maybe we're not a right fit. Maybe you should be with somebody else. Maybe we don't trust each other. We don't know each other. And so I think that propensity to show up and blah it's a killer, right? And I look in my DMs every day of the people that are going to save my life, that are going to handle my finances, are going to change all my insurance, are going to all these things. Well, maybe my insurance agent is my wife. A guy told me that. I used to sell insurance, and a guy said, "Well, buddy, except my wife is my insurance agent, so you're never getting my business." So before you show up and throw up, maybe ask some questions, get to know people. Okay, Tom, I see a green dot on Kev. We got to get to Kev. We got to get to Freddie, Freddie, Jamie, and we got a lot to do here, Tom. Okay, we're going to get to Kevin. I'm going to look at this little comment section and answer some comments. So you are in charge, Tom. Kevin, where you been, my man? How's life?
Oh, life is okay. I'm up here in the Seattle area and wishing it would stop raining, but I'm not getting my wish so far. So I'm really enjoying the conversation. I would really love to talk to DJ at some point because what I do is I work with marketing, engagement, diversity. I like to work with marginalized populations or people with disabilities, people with PTSD. I work full time for a mental health agency. So I'm just here to listen, learn, share what I can, and yeah. This is a great room. I'm glad that Julie Loken pinged me in here. Very nice.
Julie,
Love hearing that. I was just gonna say, I love hearing that. Like, DJ, Kevin, I expect you guys to be in back channel chatting like in the next 5 minutes, right? Like, I love seeing that. I love when people connect in the room, and I always want to encourage people. Like, if you see somebody in the room, if you see somebody up on stage, if you hear somebody say something that you like and makes you want to connect with them more and learn more about them, hit them up in the back channel. Like, don't be shy about it. So yeah, love to see that. DJ, Kevin, can't wait to hear what comes out of you guys collaborating. Go ahead, Dom.
I just wanted to comment on one, Julie. Thank you for pinging. My pinging stinks now. The app changed a little bit. I don't know if I pinged you 10 times or one time or not at all. I'm sorry because it changed and I haven't figured it out yet. But I wanted to comment, Julie, Tom, Billy, Charlie. What do you think about Kevin's voice, man? Is that smooth as butter?
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
He's the voice of my podcast, The Media Casters. He does intro and outro, and there's a reason why. I mean, I don't have to say anything further, but he is amazing. The voice of Applebee's, right, Kevin?
Oh yeah, Applebee's. Let's see, TurboTax, Walmart, and some local businesses up here in the Seattle area. So I appreciate Julie giving me that opportunity to kick it with Jules. But yeah, this is a great, again, it's a great room. And Dominic, I've missed you. I've been kind of tied up, but I'm always just interested in hearing people's experiences. And I always like to kind of spread a layer of diversity on a lot of topics that I wind up talking about, because I think that sometimes when we're talking about business or we're talking about movements or campaigns, sometimes there's segments of the population that get ignored for whatever reason. I don't think it's intentional. So I'm always happy to spread a layer of diversity or bring that dimension into the conversation as well. So thank you. I'm done speaking.
Love that. Love that. And yeah, I mean, man, what a voice you were blessed with, Kevin, man. It's like, you know, it's dating myself here a little bit, but one of those voices that you know, be happy to hear reading the yellow pages or the dictionary or something like that. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for what you're doing, and look forward to hearing what you and DJ cook up together.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. My pleasure. So next up, we're gonna go around, keep meeting some folks. Freddie, I don't know if I'm just gonna check real quick and see if we are. I'm not following you. We're not following each other. I don't know you. And I love that about Clubhouse. I get to meet new people. So, Freddie, the floor is yours, my friend. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? And let us know what you're up to and what your thoughts are on ROI for marketing. That's what we're talking about today.
Thank you, Tom, and Dominic, Julie, and all of you guys here. Thank you very much for inviting me to come up. And I've been here in the room before. I just haven't been able to come up and speak. And today I heard you, Tom, talking about this. Like when you mentioned that in your business you put a sign up, but you don't get that many people, but eventually that will stick, and that you need to do the same thing online. And I think you guys are giving a lot of great information here. I'm kind of brand new, I want to say it, on social media. Although I've been on social media for about 12 years, because I used to do some. I used to be in the entertainment industry right here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I could put together events with where I got 300 people or 3,000 people, and but everything was done through social media, especially Facebook at that time. And I agree with you. I mean, most of the things that I was, when I was doing the business in a way that I was going on social media to be social, to be a friend, to be somebody there to make another person feel better and to feel good about themselves, I was doing very well. And that's why these events that I was doing, I had a whole bunch of ambassadors of my brand, of the events that I was doing, and people were sharing all my information and everything. That's why everything got so well. But then after a while, I stopped doing those events, and when I tried to go into another field, more like right now, I'm doing I have a digital marketing agency, and try to do it with the sense of getting more business. Then it's not sticking. It's not really there because I forgot the basics. I forgot the basis of being there. And they talk about the 80-20 rule. And what I did is I used to be more like 90-10. 90% of the time I was being there for people, being a friend. But then once I started, because I was doing it from my heart, I was doing this business just like that. I really love it. But when I started promoting myself as a coach and also to do the digital marketing, I was in the thing listening to other people like, well, you need to bring followers, you need to get more people, you need to do the business, you need to close more, you need to do all these things. Then you lose that essence, and you gotta go back to the basics. That's my little 2 cents that I want to give you guys here, and mainly just listening to you guys because I know this is the room for me to be. I love podcasting, I love live streaming, and in the last few months, I've lost a lot of confidence in myself because I feel that I just don't. I know that I have a lot of great things to give to my audience, but I just not. I lost my, the focus. So I need to refocus, and I think that I can do that by listening to you guys here and learning from you guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, Freddie, one thing I want to ask and that you have me thinking about is what's the why? Why are you doing all of what you do? And so if you knew that your mission is to teach people how to fish, get more people fishing. My mission is to help other people's business so they can live their best life and be able to spend more time with their family. And you probably do know that, whatever that why of yours is, but then you're never off message. It would be so pure, and you wouldn't have to feel regret or bad about where you are at any point in time, because that day you were out there making a difference. You were out there helping people reach those goals. So I just want to quickly go back to Freddie, if we can, Tom, and say, is there an overall is it overarching or overarching, Tom? Overarching theme or overarching?
I think you can get away with either one.
Okay, Freddie, go on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Dominic. And that's why one of the things that when I first started doing these events, I wasn't doing those events in order to bring 100 people or 200 or make a certain amount of money or anything like that. I was because my big why was to get my community together, to be out there, to build community and to give. That's one of the human needs, basic human needs. We want to build community. We want to uh, 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 give ourselves, I can't remember the word right now, but anyway. So, and that's what I was doing it. And that's why it kind of grew without any efforts, just being myself, doing the things that I love doing, and people were sharing everything. My big why was that, and my big why continues to be that. That's why, at a certain point when I was doing the events, I said, I like to get my community together. I love seeing the kids and the families involved in all the cultural events that I'm doing and everything. But at the end, they go back home and they have the same life. They go back to their own life, and I didn't make a lot of change. That's why I was becoming a coach. I had so many traumas from my childhood and everything. I could end up being killed or in jail because I was born and raised in Colombia at the times of Pablo Escobar, and I had to do a lot of things. And I wrote a book about all these things. So I said, well, if I become a coach, I will be able to help these people that have traumas and they need to. But when I started doing that, I was like, like when you go out there and you think that you're gonna help everybody, and you are so eager to share that and share your story that you kind of scare people and people kind of walk away from you. That's what kind of started. And then besides that, the audience that I had was different. Then I said, well, okay, my big why is help people continue being in the community. So knowing that all the over 12 years I was online helping people, doing the cultural events, being known in the community, and then trying to be a coach. People maybe were not, they saw me more like this entertainment industry guy. And they said, well, they didn't see me as a coach. Then I said, okay, I've been doing this for my business. Then I started promoting, and I have a few clients where I'm doing, their digital marketing and campaigns and everything. But mostly, but again, now is my big why continues to be that create community, help the small businesses in the area. And since I have this talent, or I mean, when I being a coach, my own experiences and everything, I noticed that I've been able to help people the same way with that big why, but help them in a different way. And that's why right now I'm having that little challenge because I'm changing kind of my audience. But that continues to be my big why.
Freddie, thanks for sharing that. And I don't know if I'm getting sappy or soft, Tom, but as he's sharing that, I'm almost sitting here in tears. So I started thinking to myself, what if Freddie would have had a Freddie when he was 16, 13, 15 years old, struggling? And I want to go to the next person, producer Jimmy, who I saw out. Producer Jimmy shared some stuff on here a couple of weeks ago, Tom, and it was like some like deep stuff and really affected both of us. And then the other day I saw her speaking to a group of, I don't know if you saw on her social media, she was speaking to a young class. And here like in Freddie's case, what if Freddie, if he helps one person, if he would have helped little Freddie, if somebody would have helped him. Now producer Jimmy is in that classroom helping maybe the next generation. Maybe she affects one person. Maybe it's more, great, but maybe that person is the seed. So producer Jimmy, you're up.
Oh my gosh, you are seriously the kindest thing. Thank you so much. I actually because while you were speaking and you brought it up, I PTR'd to a picture from that day that actually was taken by my son, my photographer in the making. Copyright Jordan Productions 2022. Anyway, and so that's a picture of me and one of the little girls. And whenever I see this, it gives me the chills because it feels more like it's two of me. I really truly see myself in her, and there's just so many thoughts that run through my head. But so thank you so much for bringing that up in the space, and I truly appreciate it. You know, when you're talking about ROI on marketing, one of the things I really wanted to share was not to sleep on the free opportunities. There's so many really, really solid free opportunities out there to get your name and your brand good exposure. I'll share one briefly from the past, and then I want to circle back to something DJ said. So, JJ Ramberg, who is the woman behind Good Pods, she used to have a show on MSNBC called Your Biz. And on that show, there was a segment where you could send in a selfie of you at your small business and they could share it on the show. It was free. Well, one of the people who got highlighted was a gentleman who has a mobile dog grooming company by me in Boca Raton. So I reached out to him to have him to interview him for a podcast I had way back when. This was 2015, I think. And the impact that had, just him taking a selfie and sending it in, or tweeting it even, it was completely free, blew up his business in a good way, right? And it was free. And I've always remembered that, and I've never slept on those free opportunities. And public speaking is one of them. Now, obviously, last Friday was very altruistic. It was just, it was an opportunity for me to pour into some young faces who just look like a whole bunch of little me's. But free opportunities nonetheless can be fantastic, and you can get them through speaking opportunities and all that. And the reason I wanted to circle back to DJ is you asked about Podfest. So I don't know if you can tell because it's really tiny, but I have the Podfest icon on my profile picture for a reason. I happen to co-host the show, the Podfest podcast. And because you've mentioned that you're speaking, and I think your topic is so profound, you can actually submit like a 2 to 3 minute clip, a tip of any sort. But I think, you submitting a tip on how podcasters can best improve our accessibility for others who may have, needs for accessibility options beyond what we maybe just traditionally think of, I think could be really impactful. And you can submit it to us and we'll share it on the show. And at the end of the tip, you say where you're, who you are, what your show is, and and it's free branding. And that show goes out to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So submit a clip, DJ. You're on the roster because you're eligible as an official Podfest speaker now. But my point is, free opportunities, do not sleep on them. The ROI is, I think it's technically infinite, right? Because you're dividing by 0. So there you go. I'm complete.
I think that's great advice, Jemmy. And I think one of the things that it makes me think of is so often, I hear people talking about how they can, how they can use or actually create marketing content out of those types of events. And I think at the end of the day, there's 2 things that I would encourage people to do. One is do like Jemmy did, make sure somebody's there to take pictures, to document your appearance, right? So make sure that in some way, shape, or form, there's documentation of you speaking, of you presenting, right?
And it's really smart kid to do it, and it's free.
There you go. And if you don't have anybody, just have a kid, and in about 10 years, they'll be able to do it for you. But yeah, so make sure that there's somebody there to document it. And then after it's documented, you have to share it, right? You have to share it. And this is where I think people start to feel a little bit icky about it. And I know I've kind of struggled with this in the past as well, where you're like, well, I went to do this presentation, and I was doing it, for altruistic reasons, like Jemmy's talking about, talking to a group of young women who can look up to her and she can mentor and inspire to pursue their passions the way she has. And, you feel a little bit icky about maybe kind of using that as marketing content. But my response to that is your presentation wasn't about you. It was about who you were talking to. It was about your audience. What you're sharing is not about you. It's about who you're sharing it with. It's about your audience, right? So contextualize what you're sharing. Make sure you're sharing it so that you can benefit and reach a wider audience, right? Jemmy was in front of a group of people in real life that, was a finite number of people were in that room, right? But there is a much bigger audience on social media that Jemmy can reach with the same message if she shares that message out, right? So that's why it's important to share. Just make sure it's about your audience, and it'll get you over that sort of icky feeling that you're capitalizing on something that was supposed to be altruistic. You're not. You're bringing it to a broader audience because more people need to hear what you had to say, right? So document it and then share it for the audience to bring it to a broader audience, right? Because ultimately your presentation should always be about your audience. They're who matters. You don't matter in that presentation. Your audience is who matters, right? Dom, I know you had something you wanted to add on that. What do you got to say, brother?
Yeah, I love this subject, and with a lot of my authors as they first start out, there is an absolute value in those pictures. There, you are out there practicing, right? As you become a speaker, part of it's practice. So sometimes as you go through, you're going to end up getting paid, but sometimes the payment is the value of that picture. And what you have to remember, in Tom's point, as long as you're not exploiting the audience, right, and exploiting somebody in tears. So if it's focused on you or the angles on you, I'm anti like showing who too much. If, as long as they're in on it and they know, like Tom says, you're making a difference for this group. They're in on it. You're empowering them. They believed in it. But as long as you're not using them, and you're not, because you brought tremendous value. And then I want to just point to the ROI on that speech, or the return on you went out, you gave a speech, even if that speech was free. Well, did you meet people at that speech? Did you practice? Were you able to prepare and give an hour that you could later use and charge for? When I first started speaking years back, at first, before I got paid, I'd go out and do it, and I'd sell books afterwards once I had a book. And then once I started getting paid to speak, if they wanted me to do it, I'd say, well, I can only do this much time, right? Because you put in 30, 40 hours to prepare that 2 hours. Well, I'm only going to do this much time for that. And then, so there becomes this return on the time you're putting in, and you start to figure out, okay, I can do this, I can't do that. And then you'll really improve, your skill will improve, and there is a tremendous value. And back to what producer Jimmy said before, what can you do that's free? You can go out there and share your message, whether on social media, whether at a Rotary, a business conference, something like that. You're practicing, you're getting better, and you'll be able to improve on what you're doing. I don't think we met Girish yet, Tom. And I've met Girish before. Girish is big time. So we're glad to have you back, my friend. And so, am I right here, Tom?
Well, I don't know about the big time, but thank you.
So, Girish, if you want to drop a tip, ask a question, go on.
I'm just wondering, what is this podcast all about? I'm kidding.
No worries, man. And we appreciate jokes too. Well, we just ride Tom's coattails. And really what we do here is, I know we talk Clubhouse podcasts and publish it in social media, man. And you're welcome anytime. So do your thing.
Stop it,
Thank
Dom.
you.
Nobody's riding my coattails here, man. Nobody's riding my coattails. You guys are all superstars. I'm just helping facilitate. That's all I'm doing here. I'm just trying to help facilitate and add value where
absolutely.
I can.
So, Tom, it's been a long time. I haven't talked to you for a while, but your episode is releasing tomorrow, so if that helps. So that's a good marketing there. So, I started this last year. I didn't know where I was going to be, and I still don't know, kind of. And it seems like everything is just falling in place. I started. I release episodes every day on my podcast. There are different topics all the year long, and then season 2 came, and then I started my newsletter, and then slowly I started the Medium app. Then I started the Wisdom app, and then I started interviews and lives interviews with Tom also and a few other ones. And then I've done some Clubhouse interviews too. So I think it's just the name of the game is just be exposed no matter where you're going to be, and eventually someone is going to find you. I mean, that's how I feel that I found my niche on being on the podcast world. Still learning on the marketing side of things, and I think I'm okay now. I think someone can criticize me and say I'm not doing well, because that's the only way to learn. That's how I look at it. And I guess that's all I got to say. I mean, if there's anyone who has a question for me, but that's what I have so far.
Hey, Girish, man. Well, can't wait to see you and Tom dialogue and see what you got going on. All right, let's meet Metal. This says Metal to me. I'm an idiot, so I think I'm going to be an idiot in advance here. So up next, Matali. I'm not sure, but introduce yourself, ask a question, drop a tip.
It's Tiffany for Medal of Honor.
Yeah, my feelings are hurt. Oh my gosh, Mattel. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's a Medal of Honor. That's the name of my podcast. My name is Tiffany, and kind of a play on words because my podcast is for military and veterans, military service member and veterans, and they come on and share their stories. So it's kind of a play on words of the Medal of Honor, but this spelling of the word metal is actually that grit and perseverance and strength, pressing forward and everything. So that's what's up with that. I am actually just enjoying the conversation and loving it, actually. So I'm kind of here just hanging out.
Hey, well, Metal, then as a podcaster out there doing it and love the topic, what would you give a tip to somebody that's maybe considering podcasting that wants to share their story like that? What should they do?
Be like Nike and just do it. Yeah, I think the 2 cents, and I'm a newbie at it. I've just been doing it a little over a year now. So I would not call myself an expert on it, but the thing that I would share is if somebody is interested in doing a podcast, I would throw out their way the kind of the basics of why do you want to do a podcast? Who are you wanting to talk to or share with? What is it that you're wanting to talk to them about and share that with them? And then just go for it and do it. I have made plenty of mistakes and messed up, and I still make mistakes and I still mess up, but I'm loving every day that I do it because I enjoy the people that I meet, and it's just enjoyable. It's fun. So be willing to go out there and make those mistakes as you do it, and just go for it.
Well, it was Tiffany. So Tiffany, Medal of Honor. Thank you. Great tips. Get out there and do it. Be the Nike slogan. One of the subjects we were going to talk about earlier, that just something we had discussed, is this idea of rather than sharing all these perfect posts and videos calculated, how about every once in a while we share a little more of the reality? My post on LinkedIn this morning, I shared a post about that. When I was in college, I wanted to open a restaurant. That was like my dream in life. Since I was a little kid, I wanted to open a restaurant. And I applied for all these jobs up and down the strip. Nobody would hire me. Finally, Fridays hired me, and I failed server training. I was heartbroken. I failed server training. I went back by the dumpster and cried. Everybody else in my class made it through, and I had to retake server training because I didn't know what was in a Cobb salad and a 9-layer dip. But sometimes we fell, and Tiffany, thanks for sharing that. And let's just get out there and do it. So, Tom, it is time. It is time to meet Jay. Jay, welcome. Drop a tip. Ask a question. Go on.
What's going on, Dominic? How you doing?
Hey, my friend.
Everybody. Hello, everybody from Brooklyn. I failed server training at Fridays too many years ago, so we got that in common.
I'm following you right now.
It's a true story. I only came into this room because Julie Smoking Loken invited me in. She is my sister from another mister. I've been blessed on Clubhouse to make a couple of real life friends, and Julie is a gem in the world, not just on Clubhouse. And she keeps nagging me to do a podcast, and I keep pushing back. So eventually that'll happen. I use Clubhouse really primarily because an entertainment lawyer I was working with said you have to get on Clubhouse. And this is when Clubhouse was invitation only, and they didn't have all these crazy rooms. And I've actually gotten a few projects off of Clubhouse. I'm interested in podcasting. You only have so many hours in a day. And I came in here to support Julie. And then I look around and I'm like, wow, there's some heavy hitters in this room, like Garish and Rachel Weaver down in the audience. For those of you who don't know Rachel, she's definitely a heavy hitter. And Lance. And then I saw Tom's profile. I'm like, hey, Tom, I definitely want to hook up with you. And Kevin Coe, because, I would listen to him read the phone book. But really, I just came in to support Julie because she's like the Yoda of Clubhouse. So I'm going to park there.
Oh my God, Jay.
Buddy, just do it.
Apparently the Pied Piper of Clubhouse. This is amazing, Julie.
I don't know.
Julie,
No.
speak to it. You can't not have an intro like that and do your thing. So Julie, come on.
Well, Jay is very kind. He's overblowing me as usual, but very kind. I appreciate, him and what it speaks to. And thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Like these people here, it's like really creating relationships. And I talk about this all the time, but when we talk about takers, you can even see them on Clubhouse. They'll come on, they'll pop on the stage, they'll pitch their stuff, and then boom, you never see them again. But a lot of these people that are here right now, like Dominic, Tom, Jemmy, like everybody here, it's supporting me as I support them and going into the rooms. It's real life, and I think we forget that it goes back to that handshake, the old-fashioned way of building a business through a handshake. Doing it in a very different way, but I don't really see the difference between being on Clubhouse and being at a business meeting or an event. We all have that ability to cultivate real authentic relationships here. And I think it speaks to the good people that I surround myself with as well, being very judicious in who you surround yourself with, and smart. Jay would probably tell me, be smart, because there are a lot of people that don't have your best interest in mind. So thanks though. Thanks, Jay, for that. And thanks everybody.
And if I could say something real quick on that, because, Dom mentioned something and I have to correct you, Dom. I have to push back on you. You said that you're not good at your ping game. You are. I got ping from you, from Julie. And let me tell you, I love this room and how you guys hold this space. I canceled my own. Just so I could be here. Because listen, a rising tide raises all ships, and it's about collaboration, not cooperation and collaboration, not competition. And I'm just honored to be in here. When I saw the opportunity to, I said, you know what, that sounds even more fun. So here I am.
We love having you here, Jemmy, and Julie. Thank you for that. I 100% agree. In fact, that post that I put up that Dom brought up earlier in the conversation, where I was talking about opening the door and letting people in. The title of that post was "Handshake Content." It was encouraging people to think of their content as a handshake. It's just one of those things. I 100% agree. Put your content through a filter of, would you say it to somebody face to face in a networking situation. And if the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't put it out to your audience, right? So yeah, I think that's a good filter to run through. But thanks for mentioning that, Julie, and super happy to have you guys here. And Jay, would love to connect with you, buddy, and talk about how we could work together. I'm a little north of you, up in the Hudson Valley. I'm a Westchester kid originally. That'll mean something to you, but not necessarily to anybody else here who's not from the area. But I grew up in Westchester, and yeah, so I heard the Brooklyn as soon as you started talking. But would love to connect with you, my friend. And Garish, I saw you flashing. Did you have something you wanted to add, or were you just
Yeah, just very quickly, if you don't mind.
Sure,
You
go
know,
for it.
Julie has been a really, really great supporter for my journey also, in many different ways. She was a guest on my show, and then after being a guest, she just became a great collaborating person, giving me 2 cents that you should do this versus this, and vice versa. And I just wanted to thank Julie. And then we spoke yesterday about some certain things on my journey that which I've really went to the next hurdle. So, Julie, thanks for your all the support that you have given me so far.
Go ahead, Julie.
Tell
I
them,
think she's.
Chris. Did you tell them? My son keeps calling me, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
The yeah, I was just gonna say let's go ahead and just embarrass Julie. Everybody's talking about how amazing Julie is, and we're lucky to have her here with us every week. So let's go ahead and embarrass Julie. Everybody clap it up for Julie.
Tom, that's not what I said. That's not what I said about Julie.
You know what we need is like a picture from like her fourth grade yearbook right now. That's what I want. One week, I want next week. I want profile pictures of us when we were anybody that comes in the room. Spread the word. I want to see a profile picture at least of you with your like me. I'd have buck teeth and big pot belly, whatever. I was a real mess.
I'll surprise everybody who who knows me in real life, who's seen me without the hat on I wear for branding. I don't, it's because it's my logo and it's sort of become my thing. But I'm bald as a cue ball, man. I've been shaving my head since I was like 18 or something like that. So I'm not trying to hide anything with the hat. I just wear it for branding purposes and because I like it. But yeah, I'll find a picture of me with hair. So anybody who knows me in real life will get to see me with hair when I was a kid.
It's on. Okay, we got Scooter. Scooter's going to drop some knowledge. Scooter, drop a tip, ask a question, man. The floor is yours. Glad to see you, my friend.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad to be here. Been a minute since I've been on Clubhouse. I kind of tend to fall into the category of grabbing information, grabbing tips, grabbing things, and then leaving Clubhouse to implement and see what works, what doesn't work for me, and kind of make it my own, and then come back, soak up some more, give some tip, give some knowledge, and rinse, wash, and repeat. So, anytime Dominick does a room, I try to hop in. I just really kind of came in for the support, to be honest. And I do want to get back into podcasting. I started out, for those who don't know, I did start out podcasting. And then I was actually, I think a couple people heard my podcast in the St. Louis, Missouri area. And we brought it to a radio show. We made it a radio show. And I've just been in the radio space for a minute. Just launched my own radio station through iHeartRadio. We're nominated for a Stellar Award now. That's in the gospel space and the inspirational space. And now I'm just really, I'm having that podcast itch again. So I don't want to claim to know everything. And that's maybe a tip that I can give to everybody here. I don't claim to know everything. Always be open to learning. And I guess another thing that I'm learning to do is to write things down. I think it's very important because we live in a social media day and age. Everything is just tap your phone, tap your phone, tap your phone. Put the pencil, put the pen away. But actually grabbing a pencil and paper and writing out your plan, writing out your episode, writing out your thoughts. even if I have a joke that pops in my head throughout the day, if I'm outside and I look at something, I'll write it down immediately so I can always go back to it and understand that moment that I was in, and it gives me great content. So, whatever you go through throughout your day, write it down. Even the simplest thing, if you drop your phone on the floor, write it down. You'd be surprised how many times we may drop our phone, and that's a content because it's a relation thing. And I'm just big on the heart reaching the heart. So I feel like if there are certain things that I do and I write it down, that happens to me, it can happen to someone else, and it creates a relationship to where they want to listen some more. They want to, okay, cool. He was, yeah, he touched a lot of points on this, and things like that. So, other than that, like I said, I'm here. Shouts out to I saw Billy earlier. I think he left. I know Billy as well, but Dominick, keep doing your thing, man. I'm glad to see you're still growing this space, and I'm here whenever you got it. I'm coming in.
Hey man, well, one, you look good in that yellow hat. Hat on backwards. I can't pull a hat on backwards. So thank you,
Thanks.
man. And it's funny, how lame am I that Tom, as he's talking, he said, write things down. And my note was write things down. I'm looking at it. I mean, yeah,
I
it's
love
so,
that.
yeah,
I love that.
I am
I
so
love
lame.
that. Can I
Okay,
can
Tom,
I just want to share
do your
like
thing.
a 10-second tip. This is just to help. I don't think of myself as a lifelong learner, but I love understanding things, right? I was that annoying kid that used to ask why about everything. I drove my parents nuts when I was little because I asked why about everything. And so the reason why writing things down is an effective strategy when it comes to planning, right? When it comes to executing, is because whenever you can trigger more than one sensation, you have a greater chance of creating a longer lasting memory, right? And so the act of writing something out actually triggers multiple sensations, right? You use multiple senses to do it. You're thinking about it, you're seeing it, you're writing, you're hearing the sound of the pen on paper or the pencil on paper, right? And so you have a much stronger likelihood of forming a longer lasting memory. So not only do you have it down on paper now, but also you're much more likely to remember to go back and look at it, right? And to implement that strategy or to follow up on that note that you wrote down. So writing things down is actually a really, really great way to remember what you have to do and then execute on it and make sure you cross those things off your list as you move through your day. So I just wanted to share that. Next up, we're gonna jump to my friend, and I'm sure everybody else is in here. Most folks know him from his podcast. He is a guy who talks about failure nonstop, day in and day out. Wants to be known as the world's biggest failure. And so, without further ado, let's bring Ben up. Ben, what do you got? What do you got to add today? What are your thoughts?
I'm sure, as you know, they're going to be random thoughts because I don't really think too far in advance, but I love what everyone here is saying. The thing I want to say is so I'm writing a book at the moment. The only one I really talked about it with is Dom. I put something in the chat that references the title, but if anybody here's read The Go-Giver, which is a book about instead of being a go-getter, you want to be a go-giver. I'm writing about the topic of when two givers meet each other. So I'm calling it When Givers Meet. And it's all about like how it becomes this battle about not trying to get value from the other person, not trying to take things from them, but trying to give to them. And the more they give you, the more you want to give them back. That's the reciprocity thing that you talk about, Tom. It's like built into our culture and our DNA. And basically, when you find somebody who's truly giving and actually wants to give things and isn't trying to be a taker, isn't a fake giver, it's like magical because then you both try to keep giving to each other until either you both are just too exhausted from giving, or until just more magical stuff happens and you just keep going. And so I'm just going to say to everybody here, just keep giving to everybody. Don't expect anything in return. They might question it, they might be thinking you're a weirdo for giving so much, but don't let that deter you, because I've been deterred a lot by that. And then I just go, okay, they don't get it, and that's fine. I'll move on. I'll give to somebody else, but just keep giving and don't stop. I'm Ben. Thanks.
Ben is so good at this. I had a call with him yesterday, and he was giving me so much stuff that like I was absolutely exhausted. He's like just adding value, and I'm like, man, I need to write all this down and like consume it. I can't handle it. I can't handle anymore. And he's seriously genuine with it. Like something comes up where he thinks it would benefit anybody in this room or anybody that knows somebody in this room. And Ben's trying to find a way to connect them and never has once said, hey, Dominick, I need you to buy this or give me that or anything like that. He's just as sincere as can be that it's intense, man. And I'm appreciative of you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Dom. I just wanted to add, I can drain people so quickly. I can talk to someone for 3 hours and then they're drained, and then I move on to someone else and I drain them. I can probably drain, then by drain, I mean like exhaust, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, how am I sucking the life's energy out of like 20 people in one day just by giving them stuff? It's like, I can just talk forever and it's insane. And then I get jazzed up and I keep going and going and going. And they're like, stop, please stop. Even you, Dom, yesterday, like, this is too much. And I'm like, I'm trying to tell you how to publish a book through this thing I have. It's free. I mean, it's free to you because I'm never going to publish that many books and you can try it out or whatever it is. And it's like, I can't convince people to trust me early enough. So I'm just like, they're either think I'm a weirdo and trying to get something from them quickly, or I'm just like, okay, I got to stop giving to this person, go give it to somebody else. And literally I can just go from thing to thing. Yesterday, I was stacked all day long. That's why I haven't released Tom's episode. I haven't released an episode in almost a month because that thing's all about me. The failure guy thing. I mean, it's about the guest. But I mean, like, it's my thing to control. So if I'm lacking on it, I'm the one who suffers in terms of it not having as much of an audience. Potentially my guest suffers, but the point is, I'm always trying to trick myself into how I can do something for myself that benefits other people. I have to like weirdly do this thing in my head where I'm like, okay, do the thing for you because it'll benefit somebody else. I can't do something for just my own sake. And it's a weird thing with my own self or money. So just want to say, if anybody needs anything, I will drain you by giving you so much. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. And listen, man, no worries at all. When that episode comes out, it'll come out. I appreciate it. I know you're putting work into editing it and making sure that you take out. I know I have a tendency to say a lot. So, and I know you're taking a lot of those out. So I appreciate it. I'm working on it. I don't mind if there's some ums in there, honestly, because I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. And I say sometimes, and it's okay. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the work and look forward to hearing the episode when it comes out.
Thank you, Tom.
Awesome. Moving on.
Hold on. I want to flash real quick on that since we were sharing failures.
My bad. Go
anybody else have a tick? And we'll call it a tick. I don't know that's the right word. Something you say. Placeholder that you drop and you hear yourself saying, and it's like nails on a chalkboard. Flash your mic. Mine is right. And I used to put a sign. It was and right, and I put a little sign by my desk that said, "No, I don't effing know," and "No, you are not right." And that was how I tried to quit saying it, but I still say it. So anybody else, flash your mic. We want to hear it. Jamie, go. Producer Jimmy.
I used to say all the time, I think it still slips out, I love that. And it was one time when I was editing another fantastic host show, and that was her catchphrase too. And I realized, okay, that's literally saying nothing. You said nothing. Stop filling the space. So I stopped. I'm trying to stop saying it, but yeah, I love that.
Who else wants to be honest with us? What do you got? Charlie, you flash Charlie, and then Tiffany. Charlie, what do you got?
I got caught today on a podcast. Somebody commented, I'm a chronic lip smacker on these podcasts. And that's very annoying, as told in the comment section.
That's harsh, man, but you handled it. Tiffany, what were you going to add?
Absolutely. I say that all the time. Absolutely.
Who else? What do we have here? One I used to say is, let me ask you a question. You will catch me in this room. Do it. I say, let me ask you a question rather than just ask the stinking question. Who else has something? Carrie, go on.
Hi, I say, well, I'm trying, but it's been 2 years and I'm failing. So I haven't been able to quite cut it out entirely, but I do say, and and so is really annoying, I have to say. But I love that Jamie, the producer Jamie, says, I love that, because I love when she says I love that. So I don't know that you need to cut that, girl.
Thank you. Another one that came to mind is when I say, when someone asks me a question. So if I'm a guest on a show and someone asks me a question, I hate it when I start by saying it. It's such a crush. I say, I'll be honest. I'm always honest, but it implies that times when I'm not, and I hate that I say that.
I decided to, when I do the editing, if there's a catchphrase somebody's using, I will cut it and paste it into this, just kind of extra thing. I'm gonna kind of publish it as a bloopers thing of all of these. Yeah, but yeah, right. Don't you know, right? Yeah, and having all of those phrases just run back one after another from these different people who say these phrases all the time.
Julie, I saw you flash. What do you want to add? Julie, then we're going to meet Carrie formally. Go on.
I mean, I really laugh at that because I would always say actually. Well, actually, and in terms of those two things just annoy me about myself. So those are my two little idioms, if you will.
Don't you hate when you pick up on these little things like that, and now that you know them, you've recognized them, and then you catch yourself, I thought I was out of this habit, now I'm back in this habit. So I do that. Do that. I'm going down the stream here. So Carrie, we have not formally met you yet. So if you'd like to drop a tip, ask a question, the floor is yours, Carrie.
Thanks for having me. So, Dominick, thanks for inviting me up on stage. I appreciate it. My name is Carrie Brett. I'm a professional celebrity photographer from Boston and turned dating expert and podcaster. And I think all these catchphrases that you say are actually really great. My tip is this. So, one of the things I enjoyed in this room was the two people who failed the servers test at TGF Fridays, I think.
That's right. Me and Jake.
Okay.
We're
Love
brothers
it.
now.
Love it. I got written up once when I was a waitress at Bertucci's for giving out too many rolls, and there was a spotter there. So, but one of my most downloaded episodes is this guy Jim Bello, who was the first person put on a respirator during like the first week of his MGH. It became a national story. He was on life support for 32 days, and he declined all press because it became too much. But he did come on my show because he used to make the rolls at Bertucci. So it's these personal relationships that are amazing, and the episode's really funny and heartfelt. But my tip would be this. Don't be afraid to really lean into your personality and don't edit everything. People love people who are flawed, and we're all imperfect, and perfection doesn't exist. So that would be my advice. You're not reading the nightly news. Podcasting is a totally different medium, and just be yourself, because people can hear when you're trying too hard and you're trying to be somebody that's perfect. It's not going to fly. So that would be my advice. Thanks for letting me speak.
I love that. Don't edit everything. That's one of those things that we should put in the bar on, like when we share this episode, wherever we're sharing. Don't edit everything. We all have that tendency to want that perfect picture, that perfect post, and not talk about those failures, not the slip ups. It's so natural. But Carrie, thank you for producer Jimmy. What do you want to add there?
Yeah, I have a question for Carrie, actually, because she is a professional photographer. And so, I know that, I'm assuming that as part of her process, that there's an editing portion of your process, Carrie. So I'm curious if there's anything that's translated in how you know that you've reached completion on the amount of editing that you do for a photographer. I can't speak for a photograph. That's how you say that word. That has translated to how you approach editing your podcast.
That's a really smart question. I love this question. So I spent 28 years shooting covers for the leading city magazine in Boston. And the most successful covers were real, to be honest. When I would photograph an athlete and that mother would call me and say, "You captured my son," or "That's my child," or "That's my friend." And that's what I tried to do. I tried to create an image that wasn't the way the media perceived them or the public perceived them. Just how I saw them as a human being. So it's that perfect amount of detail, not too much and not overdone. And just keeping that authenticity. So ironically, when I started as a podcaster, I had spent almost three decades using my camera to tell the truth about the subject that I was capturing. And now I just switch out the microphone for a camera. And so early on, my first podcast interview with a seasoned radio star here in Boston, I don't even think I listened to a podcast, but she said, "You can do it." And I said, "Why can I do it?" She said, "Because you tell the truth and you're just like really clear on who you are. And you like laugh about your flaws and you really, you just are yourself." And I said, well, I went back and I listened to that podcast. And there were a couple of moments where she asked me a question. I didn't know any of the questions. And I paused and I learned about the power of the pause. And when I paused to think about what I was going to say, because I was going to answer truthfully, the audience leaned in. So it is that realness and keeping that ebb and flow of the conversation to be super straight up and real. So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks.
I want to ask a question of Carrie, and to be perfectly honest, Carrie, I was out of the room for a minute. I had to step away for a second, and so I missed the beginning part of what you were saying. But this question popped into my head just based on what I heard when I got back in here, and talking about your editing process and thinking about your approach to photography. So my question is, how many photographs in your career that you've published would you look at and say are perfect?
Oh my God, my mind is like blown. These are not the questions I usually get. The questions I usually get are, who is your favorite actor?
We're smart people in this room, Carrie.
You guys are really smart. Smart crew. Okay, so how many of my covers are perfect? I would say they're damn near perfect for the limited time
Yeah.
and the limitations within that shoot. So one of my most popular covers, okay, I competed against Sports Illustrated, a lot of national magazines. I had 4 minutes to do the cover. That's not a lot of time. I did it in 2 and gave them 2 minutes back. But I saw, so because I was competing with all these other covers, they were going to tell me how these 3 people were going to stand. Or I basically watched all the other people shooting and I knew I couldn't do X, Y, and Z. So I had like so many limitations. But I watched and studied their body language. So I was like, yeah, that's it. So when the 3 of them came together, I knew exactly how to position them. So because I have such limited time, like I shot Shaquille O'Neal, I think in 2 minutes as well. But I studied his facial expressions on the sidelines of the games. And I studied him in commercials. So I already knew the look I was going for. I went in,
Right.
grabbed that look, and I was out. So it's damn near perfect based on how limited it is. And that's
Right.
what's unfortunate is that I get judged for, well, I would have shot it like this. No, well, would you?
Well,
Because yeah.
so let me jump in for a second because what you said actually kind of fed perfectly into the point that I wanted to make, and the reason why I asked the question, and that is that you wouldn't describe any of your covers, any of your published work as 100% perfect, right? And neither would I, right? I've created programming that has been viewed by millions of people all over the world, and none of it is perfect. There's not a single piece of content that I've ever created in my professional career that I couldn't go back and make a change to right now. Not a single piece. and the bigger point that I really wanted to make was that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do the best you can at that particular moment in time. You just have to do the best you can with what you have in that particular moment in time, and then let it go. Stop trying to, people get caught in this loop of editing content, editing photographs, editing podcasts to try to make them perfect. And the easiest way to break out of that is to simply ask yourself, is it the best that it can be right now? And if the answer is yes, then it goes out in the world and you let it go. Right. And
I
you let
want
it
to say
be.
what that's right. And I also want to say this. So I've done covers in a custody battle with a broken with the death in the family, under the most duress, brokenhearted. Some of my best covers, I was on the floor, just completely heartbroken. I can't wait to get through the shoot so I can go home and bawl my brains out, just moment by moment get through it. So life's really hard, and it can be. And one of my I believe one of my better episodes, like I can't even say a compliment about myself, is this interview I did with this woman, Natalie Liu, who has helped millions of people. She's big time podcaster. And I was in level 10 pain with a ruptured disc. And I was bawling my brains out the day before the episode, and I knew I couldn't cancel. And then I had to get myself, and I'm like, I did a year and a half for this interview. Like, I know this information better than I know her book better than she knows her book, because it saved me and got me on the right path. So you're going to have these moments where it's not a perfect situation, but when it's time to go live, you got to bring it no matter what's happening. So I have a really good, because of the training, I can just shut it down and focus on that task at hand. And I do thank my career at the Improper Bostonian for giving me that. But I would say, life can be hard, and you have hard moments, and you got to push through, because you got to bang out an episode week after week. And I love this topic of being imperfect, because I think it's so real and not often discussed. So thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you, Carrie. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Girish, I saw you flash your mic. You got 10 seconds, my friend. You got something to add real quick?
He's on the phone.
Oh, we're skipping Girish then. He's on the phone. You're right. 100%. Didn't even see that pop up. See, it's a group effort. It's all about collaboration here. So we're going to move on then. Leslie. Leslie is here today. Leslie, I don't believe I know Leslie. So Leslie, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what you got going on today.
Hey, Dominic, thank you. I'm following you now, and I have just met so many, like Julie, so many awesome people. To the right of me, Rita, through Clubhouse. And, the most perfect podcast episode are the beautiful organic imperfections that we all have, and those flaws and those gray areas. And for me, I have my tech savvy 15-year-old helping me out with just uploading it. We don't edit. And I like to just keep it real. And that's what I think we all resonate with when we all went through COVID, shut down. So I started a podcast with my middle son, who's an environmental science major, Generation Foundation, in 2020. And I just knew that we had all these awesome shares. We had a special bond, but it was the Gen Z versus the Gen X, the way that they see through different lenses and what their perspective is on life and navigating through as in their careers and just eating clean. And so we're just having fun with it. And then I started Keep It Dirty, and I connected with Girish yesterday, and just awesome people. And I'm collaborating with such wonderful people. So if I could say anything, well, my Italian grandmother used to say, pardon my French, shit or get off the pot. Like, if you have something to say, if you have a passion and you need to get your word out globally, this is an amazing platform, podcasting. So you know what? You just run with it. That's what I tell everybody. I didn't know anything about social media 3 years ago. Didn't know much about podcasting, but I use the tools and reach out to people, because people like that are on the stage are here to help. And I used to do public speaking 25 years ago. before social media was even around. But you know what? I just like brushed off the tools, the cobwebs, and I thought I'm not going to look back. And wherever it takes me, it's going to take me. And I'm just meeting great people. So thank you for letting me share.
Leslie, I absolutely love it. I'm a fan. You got yourself a new follower. And this reminds me of some of my favorite videos and stories that I share are the people that weren't able to share their story and helping them share the story. Whether it is somebody that was 85 years old and was told she wasn't able to tell her story because of the color of her skin, or riding bikes to Washington, D.C. with my dad, where here's my dad, 76 years old. My mom was getting sick with Alzheimer's, and me and him took this journey to Washington, D.C. on bikes, a couple hundred miles, and I was able to document it. Whether it gets one view or not, this is a video I'm so proud of because I was able to tell this story, and I'll have this story for the rest of my life documented. It's somewhere where I'm able to view it. Other people at times will watch it and say, well, that reminds me of me and my dad, or I wish we would have had that kind of story. Man, I'm so thankful to just get out there and share that story. So Leslie, love it. And it was Tiffany earlier that said, just do it. So I'm
Yeah.
loving the room. You guys are full of energy and really have made us have a stimulating conversation today. I was looking for a better word than stimulating, but that was all I could come up with.
Thank you.
I need to work on. I need a thesaurus when I'm speaking here, and I could quickly use it, then pretend like I was really cool. But anyway, all right. Now we need to meet Rita. Tom, we haven't met Rita, so let's meet Rita. Rita, ask a question, share a tip. Go on, my friend.
Thanks, Dominic. First of all, loving hearing the stories on the stage. And, for podcasting, I started mine almost a year ago. And I remember in the beginning it felt overwhelming. It's a lot of work, as y'all know, but it was just it's very powerful, when you do hear other people's stories, because I think that, myself included, sometimes you just, when you hear other people going through, you know, stuff that's challenging or hard, or people that normally don't talk about on social media. And I think we, by default, think that, we all live these fabulous lives and life is just fabulous. We're in North America, so, and I just, you're just kind of like conditioned to always present this, everything is great. And nothing's really wrong with that in itself. But I think when I started like listening, having guests on, I really just was like, oh wow, you guys also experience like narcissistic abuse, and you guys also experience this and that, and like, because I think it's like it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you're the only one. And it just really, I think podcasting is a very powerful platform for both, people conducting the interviews and people that are guests, and also most importantly the listeners. I think we're all kind of being more empowered. We're learning at a very accelerated rate due to podcasting. All parties are. Um, and then with Clubhouse, it really helps with that networking and collabs, and, getting more guests on your show, especially when you hear them, it's like, wow, you can really benefit, your voice will really benefit my audience because you kind of experience your potential guest in a room. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Rita, thank you. Appreciate you being here. It really makes me think about our truth and what it really is, and how many ways that we could be more sincere and more authentic. I was talking with an author yesterday about running or biking, and he asked me what my weight was. And what's your weight right now? And I'm like, well, I was down to this. I lost 20 pounds. and I didn't like how I looked. And then I thought I'd lift some weights and take protein, and I gained weight, and I thought that's how I looked. And I'll be honest, I told the guy, I said, truthfully, there's never been once, and here I am, a guy telling you this. There's never been one time in my life where I looked in a mirror and was like, wow, I love how I look here, right? The truth, our truth. I mean, we can tell people the be sincere. This is who we are, right? There's no. We all have many flaws and many layers. Where we are not onions. Somebody told me the other day, Tom, we are not onions. Maybe it was you. We are not onions. We are flavorful cake. So we have many layers, but it's tasty.
That
Somebody
was
who's
yeah.
very
That was not me. I use analogies a lot, but I don't think that's one of mine.
I think I'm the one who said cake. I think when we were
see.
bringing
That's a
up
good one,
layers,
producer
you're like, I don't
Jimmy.
want to call it onions, so I said, call it cake.
We are all flavorful cakes. My wife just started showing me a new show on TV where they cut open like a lawnmower and it's a cake, or they cut open a pineapple and it's actually a cake. See, people are sharing stories all different ways. Hey, now somebody who's a great storyteller, a great sharer of content. I find myself watching Dr. Tachi's pre-show, her lives. I love her lives. I just, the other day she was talking about the Batman. I love how she says the Batman and how much money the Batman made in one weekend. But any of these shows, she is just great at doing her thing. And so, Dr. Tachi, share a tip, ask a question. The floor is yours.
Hello. I hope everybody is doing well. So I am, yes, Dr. Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. So you're talking podcasting tips, etc. It's interesting. It's funny because I was just talking to my podcast partner yesterday. We do something on Clubhouse on Tuesdays. And so I said, Kevin, you know what I like about you? That you realize that this podcasting thing is not a sprint, it is a slow trot. There are a lot of people, especially at the very beginning when everybody got in it. Oh, I can make a whole bunch of money off of podcasting. That's nice, but that's not everybody's ministry, and that's not going to be the case for everyone, and that's okay. And we've been doing it together. We've been doing our podcast now. This is the 6th year, and so it's slowly starting to. We're gaining wings in terms of listeners, obviously, but in terms of looking to monetize is slowly getting there, and we're okay with that. So when you have, make sure that you and your podcast partner, if you have someone that you're broadcasting with, that you're aligned in that way, that you have understand what the goals are for the podcast, and that you are both aligned. Because if one person is looking to become a millionaire off of it and the other person doesn't care, there may not be a synergy there. So make sure that you're aligned. And talking to Kevin yesterday just confirmed, you know what, we are on the same path. So I released the mic.
Dr. Tachi, we love having you. And I'm telling you, and Tom will say this, if we haven't said it, we didn't say it enough today. I know I didn't say enough, but make sure you connect with people in the DMs, follow them. You will find some interesting, creative people. You'll learn from them. You'll be inspired by them. Have a conversation, a cup of coffee, like we found. Julie's the Pied Piper of Clubhouse, and people were singing their praises. I believe the same with Jimmy and Ben and Kevin. Charlie's super inspiring. So you start meeting these people and realize I need more of them. So get in those DMs and follow, connect, that kind of thing. We have somebody, Moira, that's how I pronounce it. So Moira, it's good to see you again. I'm glad you were able to make it today.
Cheers, Dominick. Hi.
Hey, good. Glad you are here. You have a tip for us or a question to ask? Go on.
So enjoying the conversation, so many. And I speak to so many speakers all the time, and the conversation is always like, how do I find my voice? I need to find my voice. But I always advise people to get on as many podcasts as possible, because I really do think that getting on other people's podcasts is like the best way to find your voice. As in, like the conversation I had this morning was like, I've just done one talk. I think I really bombed. Like, what am I going to do? And
advising people just to get on podcasts and just start speaking. That's how you find your voice. So I love podcasting for that opportunity that it's creating for people. And I think like last year or 2 years ago when the pandemic started, there was about just under 1 million podcasts, but now there's like 2 million podcasts. So there's so many major opportunities for people to get out there and find their voices. And then when you do that with podcasting, it really gives you the confidence and the ideas of how you can transfer that to social media and to Clubhouse and all those things. So I just think it's such an amazing building block for entrepreneurs and business owners to really get out there and find their voice and share their story. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Moira, I couldn't agree more. And Michael Lozer, who Julie introduced us to, he stopped through the room from time to time, and he's bordering on 4 million books now. And the one thing he always says is he became a career guest. And I couldn't agree with that more for sharing your story. Podcasters that are looking for interesting people, and you meet a new network of people, and you get to practice your message, share your message. And like we talked about with Freddie earlier, what if Freddie meets one more person by going on a podcast, and he's able to help that young Freddie? He's able, like producer Jimmy, able to help that next Jimmy, the next podcast star that's going to start a whole media empire like she did. Maybe that's the person, when you jump on, you help that person and created that influence, that ripple. So Moira, thank you for being here. Let's meet.
Hey,
Okay,
Dominick.
Okay, Jay, what's up, Jay?
So, April had a question in the chat. Can I read it to you?
Go on.
Her question is, what are your thoughts about referring to marketing a Clubhouse room as a podcast?
Tom, handle that. So referring to your marketing room as a podcast, can you live stream this? Go on.
That's from April.
Yeah,
Tom,
I think I just saw that question too, right as Jay brought it up. And I think what April's asking is what are the thoughts on marketing a Clubhouse room as a podcast? And it's something, Dom, we've talked about. It's something we have plans to do with this recording that we capture. If you have replays on, if you host the room, whoever sets the room up, if you have replays on, you can download that replay in full, and then you can kind of use it however you want. So I think it's a great way to repurpose content. Everybody in here knows, who's been in here before, who's listened to me opine about this on multiple occasions, knows what a big fan I am of repackaging and repurposing content. So if you can repackage and repurpose content, then I say go for it. And yeah, I think just be clear about what it is, right? And my intention, with this, and Dom and I have talked a little bit about this, but my intention is we'll do a quick intro and a quick wrap up, and otherwise it's just going to be the room, right? As it was. It's just going to be a recording of the room as it happened. Because I don't have the hours in the day to do all the editing that would be required to sort of really, polish this into, something that we would typically see on the radio or something like that. So it's just going to be an organic conversation like it is every week. And I think actually that's one of the things that I personally really love about this room is that, is we try to create a conversation that flows, that provides opportunity for people to ask questions and share their expertise, so that we don't just sit up here and talk at people and or create space for people to just pitch to each other. Because I think that's something that happens a lot on Clubhouse, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of people have gotten turned off from Clubhouse, is because they go into rooms and it's just the same old thing, listening to somebody pitch their product over and over and over again, and it's boring. So so we try to avoid that. But yeah, I say go for it. If you host a room, just let everybody know. I would say out of courtesy. I mean, obviously, if replays are on, it's part of the terms and conditions now with Clubhouse that you acknowledge that you could be recorded by going into the rooms and by participating on Clubhouse. But I would just let people know what you're doing with it. Just like we like to let everybody know that we're live streaming this room, that it's going out on multiple channels. But yeah, I say go for it. Do it. Nothing wrong with it.
Hey,
Just
do you
do
mind
it.
if I
That's
quick word?
Yeah, go on, producer Jimmy. Then we're going to hit
Real quick,
Girish, and
yeah.
then we are going to Angela. So Jimmy, Girish, Angela, go on.
So I'm interpreting her question a little differently. I'm thinking of her question as, can I call my regularly scheduled Clubhouse room that I host, can I call that a podcast? Because she then later asked about the definition of a podcast. And so here's what I want to say. You can call something a podcast as long as you make it available on podcast players. Otherwise, it's going to be confusing to people as they hear you call it a podcast, and then they go search for it where they normally find podcasts. It's not there. However, the source of the audio for a podcast can come from anywhere, including a Clubhouse room. So I would advise you that yes, you can. However, just make sure you hit that final key of making the audio then available as a podcast on podcast platforms. Thank you. I'm complete.
Producer Jimmy, that is why we love when you're in the room, to clarify things like that. So thank you. And since she said she canceled her room so she could be here, you'll probably see producer Jimmy in next week, unless she's got something going on. So producer Jimmy, we love you. Thank you. Girish, you had something to add? If you can, drop it
Yeah,
in.
just very quickly, I do create rooms on Clubhouse on replays, and then I do post it on my podcast also. But on top of that, what I do is I dissect that whole episode on Clubhouse and make that into an article and put it onto LinkedIn. So it's more an exposure, right? Because it's the writing style has to be that the opinion is not coming from me, but it's coming from others too at the same time. So it's not just me, but there are other people collaborating when it comes to the topic itself. So I do this all the time, and I release that on the Mondays that I usually post. Like for example, just last week I just had a room, and it was a really awesome room, and then I'm created that as an article, and I'll be releasing that next Monday. So yeah, you can definitely release it for sure. But I make that
Repackage
as
and
raw.
repurpose.
So what's that?
Repackage and repurpose. Repackage and
That's
repurpose.
it.
Right?
That's it. Yep, that's it.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Girish. Thanks, Dominick. I know we're moving along. We're coming up against a hard out at 11:30. So who do we have to meet next? Who's left for us?
Here's how we're going to do it, Tom. I'm planning this. I'm reading Angela's bio. It seems quite impressive. And then we're going to have my friend, my dear friend. So we're going to go to Angela. She's going to drop some major tips for us. And then Brian P. Swift, my buddy, is going to take us home with some inspiration. So that's what I envision in my mind is going to happen. I'll probably push mute and screw it all up, but that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So Angela, welcome. I'm glad you made it today.
Oh my God, Dominic, the pressure is on. Put a lot of pressure on me here. I'm not a podcaster, but I do know a little bit about Clubhouse, and I do know about branding and business strategy. And what I will say is that, yeah, people have streamed their podcasts through Clubhouse, but I was also turned on to another platform that I'm actually going to become, I don't know, supposedly going to become a creator on it, but it's Fireside, where you can have your you can still, have all the other outlets, with your podcast, but you can also be on Fireside as well. So that is, I think, something interesting for people that want to, go to multiple stream in multiple places. And then also, I think that was it. I kind of jumped off the off the mountain now. No, but I think but yes, and I think people have done it on Clubhouse, and I mean I've been in rooms. The only thing is I think it's kind of weird with depends on how you want. Like the Future does it, like Chris Doe. I know that he he uses Clubhouse as well. And but anyway, I'm kind of running out of steam on this because I'm not a podcaster, but I can only just tell you what I've seen. But I appreciate being here because I am starting a podcast, and I actually had a question. I don't know if that's allowed.
Yeah, we love questions. We're going to ask your question. We're going to answer it. We are going to wrap this whole thing up in 6 minutes, and we say it's equal opportunity around here. So you're going to ask a question. We're going to meet Gospel, and then Brian's going to bring us home. So we're on a fine line here. Go, Angela.
All right. The quick question is this. I was naming my podcast The Brand Rules because it's all about branding and marketing, and and that's really what I talk about. However, that being said, I was thinking, should I name the show after myself for branding purposes, for being the brand? Because I am going to do a lot of solo episodes. I will do interviews, but it will be a lot of solo content. So that's my question.
So, Tom, you want to take that? Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I can chime in. I think there's probably a lot of answers if you get into the metrics of this. I would call it the brand rules, and then maybe add your name for personal branding. So the brand rules with Angela George would maybe be a way to go about that, so that you can also, that gives you the opportunity to, down the line, if you end up maintaining that IP around that podcast, but you don't have the time to host it, or you want to hand it off to a new host or something like that, you can swap the name out, and the name of, like, the with at the end of the name, and the name of the podcast stays the same. So it's not the Angela George podcast, it's the brand rules with Angela George. And then, if things change down the line, you can keep the IP of the podcast, keep the name the same, and just change the host name attached to it. That would be my best advice on that topic.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Agree.
sorry, Jemmy.
Oh, that was all I was going to say. 1000% agree. That was it.
Good stuff. Okay, we appreciate each of you. Let's see what this says. It says gospel. And one of the things I wanted to mention is gospel Gwen Watts. We believe in equal opportunity here. So every week we try to ping people up. If we're annoying, sorry. But if you ever have a question, raise it and we'll try to get you up. So we got 4 minutes here. Gospel Gwen, ask a question. And Brian P., I'm putting more pressure on, but I believe in him. He's going to take us home with some inspiration. So Gospel Gwen, ask a question.
Hey, good morning. This is your friend Gospel Gwen, and greetings to all of you. And my question is, can you share 3 resources for repurposing content? Thank you.
Okay, Tom, I'm going to go. I use video shop on my phone. I can take any long form thing. I use screen recorder on my phone. Those are 2 simple ones where I can whittle them down in seconds. And then all those different apps where I could go to Facebook Reels, anything like that, put long form into short term form. Now go, Tom. What do you got?
So I use the most accessible program that I use for folks is called Descript, Descript. So it's you can download a free version. There are paid options as well. And it's a sort of transcription and editing software all in one. So you can edit video as you edit the transcripts and kind of have it all go together. You can search the transcripts, the whole 9 yards. So that's what I use for repackaging, repurposing content before I go into my editing system on Adobe Premiere Pro.
Do you need Adobe Premiere Pro to utilize that time?
No, you do not. Descript is its own software. You don't need Adobe Premiere Pro to use that. That's just my workflow because I also, I own a video production company, so that's what we do. But that's my workflow. But Descript is a great piece of software.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Part of getting out there and doing it is a little inspiration, a little motivation. We all need it. I think it's Zig Ziglar that says motivation's like a shower. It's recommended daily. So Brian P. Swift, if you're not out doing your show, this is the pressure, man. Just take us home with 30 seconds of inspiration or so if you don't mind.
No problem. Thank you very much. I got on late. I apologize. I learned so much from this room is from hosting a radio show on WJOL in the Chicago suburban area to my Positive Perspective podcast, and to keep you guys hopefully in that 10:30 time limit or 11:30 your time. Just a couple things to remember. Setbacks are always laden with information, and this information from our setbacks and failures give us great ways to improve. So don't look at setbacks is such a negative. It is a great way to figure out what's happening. Sometimes the causes of our setbacks are systematic. Sometimes in looking back at them, they will help us improve, because success does not consist in never making mistakes, right? It's in not making the same mistake twice. So learn from these inspirational people here on Clubhouse. They have brought me a long way, and don't make the same mistake twice. God bless. We're out of here.
amazing inspiration from our friend Brian P. Swift. Dominick introduced me to him. I think he's a great guy, somebody everybody in here should be following and listening to. Incredible, inspiring gentleman, and I'm excited to have him, always excited to have him in this room, and appreciate so much him sharing that inspiration with us. Just want to say a quick thanks. I have to run to a meeting, so I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to all of you for sharing your wisdom, sharing your thoughts today, sharing yourselves with us in this space. Thank you to my intrepid co-host, Dom, in this room. Couldn't do it without him. There's nobody riding anybody's coattails. We all bring our own cake to the party, as producer Jemmy would say. So we're all delicious cake, right? So thank you to everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. Dom, we're going to count us down and close us out in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.